The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Pearson at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting Premier Podcast TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated, the real host, not the that other broad. Mr. Hi, your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And speaking of mortified, I just insulted his girlfriend, ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Starcher. How do you do, sir?
How dare you? My
right.
gosh, the gall of you, sir.
You're going to slap me with a rubber glove and, demand pistols at 20 paces?
Rubber hose.
Oh, God. That hurts like fuck. Just ask my ex-wife. Yeah. So before the show, I was telling Jesse that I made the theme for the year in review show that's coming up this Thursday. And I got the idea from you. You last year, what did you do? You took a line from like every review. Like you threw every.
Yeah,
you threw
I'm certain that I
the,
shoved it in a notebook
Yeah.
LM and told it
Like,
to go to town.
You took all the damn you Hollywoods from that would process into notebook LM and said, I guess, like pull one line out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you massaged it into a song, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Then you sent me the song, and then I put together basically like a clip show of the movie posters and a couple of AI drawings of me, Robert, and Alexis. And, I made myself basically White Power Man, not how that's supposed to come across. It's Power Man Luke Cage, but me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And then Robert is Karate Guy. He's running around in the gi. And then
Right.
Alexis has like a fedora and a bomber jacket.
Yeah, very, I thought was Indiana Jones-esque.
Yeah, which was the joke from last year, because she had talked about like she used to wear her dad's bomber jacket. And I asked her, I'm just like, are you like gender fluid? What is your issue? She was like, no, I just like my dad's bomber jacket. I'm like, okay, fine. And I actually do think she owns a fedora. So yeah, so she's like adventurer, Indiana Jones, Lara Croft chick. And I'm,
Nice.
and I'm muscle action guy. I can't keep saying white power guy. People are gonna really get the wrong
No,
idea.
you cannot do that.
Especially the way I look. And
Can't do
then Robert is Karate Guy. And other than the picture of the fat chick singing in the movie theaters when the line comes up, dear hot childish cat lady, stop singing in the movies, which was Robert's line from fucking Wicked last year. Just one of the best lines. So I did a similar thing, but Notebook LM takes 50 sources.
Yes.
I didn't count how many this was, and I learned this after the fact, but as you know from working with me on sessions, I kind of get in a groove with things, and I don't want to have to redo shit. So I threw all of the triple features of new movies that we did, which we did a lot this year, a lot more than I thought. So we did a lot of streaming movies this year. We are getting to the show. We're going to talk legit tonight. I'll talk about that in a second, but I kind of wanted to finish what Jesse and I were talking about before the show started. So I took all the damn you Hollywoods, but I also did all the triple features of the new movies because there's a lot of great reviews that we did of new stuff.
You did a separate notebook LM with the triple features only?
No,
Or
I
did you
combined
add
them
those
all.
with?
I combined them all and went well over 50 sources.
Yeah, I was going to say
like,
you. Had a lot
so
there.
the damn you Hollywood stuff kind of dies at the summer, which is why like the back half of the year there's not a lot represented there. But I don't think anyone fucking cares. This stuff is like important to me. Like it's not important. Yeah. It's sure as fuck not important to Robert, and Alexis will only be waiting for her turn to talk. So like I was fine with the way it was. I liked the lines that it did pull. I had ChatGPT massage what it pulled into a real song. And then I used OpenAI video editor to create the first half of it. No, something else. I swear I thought it was OpenAI. Was the name of it. I know it's the name of
OpenAI has
the name of
I
the
mean,
company that owns ChatGPT.
yeah, there's a Sora, but
Mhm.
I know that if you go into like Sora on
Mhm.
the through your computer, not through your like your phone or anything like that, there's a whole like Sora 1, you could do like extension. You had storyboards, and you can extend videos and create new videos off the old video and stuff like that. I've used it a few times, but I haven't had the greatest success at it. So
Yeah. So I used whatever the video. Okay, everybody saying hello to me on YouTube. Hi, I hear you. I see you. You're all beautiful people. I'd like to get back to
we
my
love
show
you.
now. Yes, we love each and every single one of you. So I used it to do. Now it would only take a portion of the song. The song is 7 minutes long. The other side of that is I heard it repeat some of the same ones a second time around. Like so,
Yeah.
and I didn't notice that until just now. And I'm like, it's fine. Nobody gives a fuck except me. It's a cool sounding song anyway.
One pass, Mark Radulich.
That's right. I'm not putting more effort into something that only I care about.
Sure.
So that was the other side of it. So I made the video for like half of it. That's that first part of it that you saw. And then did a bunch of like 15-second clips. And then I rotated them through a second time, and that filled up the 7 minutes. And so there it is. There's the theme.
So what was the deal with the caption stopped all of a sudden? Did you switch or add something or
because it was two separate things. That whole first part with the captions, that's one long video. It wouldn't do it for the entirety of the 7 minutes. It only had a 3-minute maximum.
Gotcha.
So some of my shorter, like Fra Diavolo stuff, it would have done it for. Like, if I wanted to do another video for every Irish song ever or something like that, anything that's like less than 3 minutes, it would do.
Okay, all right.
So like I said, and then I tried to make a second one with it, like the last part of the song, and the thing kept fighting me, and I'm like, I've been at this for too long. I haven't slept all that well. I'm trying to watch it tomorrow night. I'm like, I got to move on with this.
Right.
We are not at the point where like a ham and egger like me, this stuff is user friendly enough for me to stay at this for very long without running into giant walls of frustration.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, I don't know how many times we can say it. It's definitely light years ahead of what we were like 2 years ago. That's for sure. This was something.
We're on another
gleam in our eye, right, dude?
Can I tell you like really quick? I did a Sora video. Like sometimes I get a funny idea in my head from all the like TikTok engagement that I've been doing, like getting into online arguments with fucking poser communists. And like I'll just get like a funny idea that doesn't really need a whole essay to explain it, and it's more of my insulting side than my intellectual side, and that's where Sora steps in.
Okay, all right.
So I put a prompt into Sora that like I want some like liberal fucking TikTok communist to like babble incessantly, and then at the end of it, a guy's just like, "Ma'am, I just asked you if you wanted milk in your coffee." Here's the problem with Sora is it gave that line to the communist.
Yep. No, the switching of the dialogue.
And I didn't feel like redoing it. Like I think we ran into that same problem when you were.
Well, yeah, I did like 10. I did 10 commercials,
right,
where you stole my cereal.
Yes,
and you kept yelling "Marky" at me, and I was like, "No, that's not how that works." No, wait a second.
Yeah. I had this similar problem when I came through the wall and it was like Jesse like ready to podcast, and it kept switching.
It looked like a combination of me and you.
Yeah,
There's one where it's like, Sora has some fun issues there. I had one I was trying to make. I was giving my buddy an Action Comics #1, so I cameoed him in it, and of course it switched up the dialogue. He opens up the present and he's like, talking about the gift he gave me. I'm like, no, wait a second, that's not how this works. So anyway, it was at some point they're going to get that stuff figured out. I'm sure of it. But right now we're just on the cusp of having fun. I'll tell you my idea, and then we can get into the show. Yeah. I am going to start redoing like commercials from the 80s on Sora. All right. Like shit that you probably remember, like the Double McGum or something like that. I want to just give that a shot for like a straight week.
Can you please redo for me for me, Jesse. You can even do, what is it when you can use my persona from Sora?
Yeah,
What's it
yeah,
called again?
cameo.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you can use
Cameo.
you can cameo me in there. Please do the "You Can Do the Arches" McDonald's jingle.
Okay. Oh
You,
boy.
do you remember
I don't
that
know.
one? You can
Is
do
this the
the
one with Jason
arches.
Alexander?
Woo! You can do the
No,
arches. You don't remember that?
I do not know
When we're
that
done
one.
here, now that I've embarrassed myself, we're done here. Quick, like fucking YouTube it. I guarantee you, somebody's uploaded the "You Can Do the Arches" song.
Okay. All right. Good enough.
Legit.
Good enough.
Legit is what we're here to talk about tonight. It's like fucking issues of sessions here. Legit is an American sitcom created by Peter O'Fallon and Jim Jefferies. The series premiered on January 17th, 2013 on the American cable television network FX and ended on May 14th, 2014 on FX's sister channel FXX. The executive producers were Jefferies, O'Fallon, Rick Cleveland, and Lisa Blum. On March 28th of 2013, Legit was renewed for a second season by FX and moved to FXX. On May 14th of 2014, it was announced that Legit was canceled due to low ratings and would not return to FX for a third season.
That. By the way, the cancellation happened on the same day as the last episode aired.
Yeah, they really could not wait to get that thing off the air.
I couldn't believe that.
So as you know, I'm like a huge stand-up comedian fan. I was exposed to stand-up comedy when I was really young. I think I've talked about this a bunch in different podcasts, different ways. I had a vinyl collection that was like half Kitty records when I was really little, but like also half all of my dad's old records, and nobody bothered to see what they were giving me. They were just like, "Here, you're a child, you have a record player, here's vinyl." So I have this really odd amalgamation of like the WWF, the album, Disco Mickey, the Dukes of Hazzard soundtrack, and Robin Williams' Reality What a Concept. And a couple of the old Bill O'Reilly vinyls, like Wonderfulness, and To My Brother Russell, with whom I slept with. There was a couple of other. Oh, Noah's a Very Funny Fellow, right? I may have had a prior in there. As I got older and I started buying my own stuff, or I was given stuff, I got really into Andrew Dice Clay, Sam Kinison. Again, I found a lot of Pryor's old stand-up, Eddie Murphy. So you got to remember, like at the time that I'm growing up, stand-up comedy is booming. Like the 70s was like the golden age of rising stand-up. A lot of the actors that would define comedy in the 80s through film started in stand-up, like Steve Martin, Martin Short, which we talked about when we did Only Murders in the Building. They all came from that era. So I'm growing up, and the other thing that's happening is HBO is becoming a thing, and it's available in more homes. And the big thing on HBO was the stand-up comedy half hour and the full comedy special.
Oh yeah. What was the name of the specials there in the early 90s, late 80s? Where they had a bunch of the comedians come together and do something.
Comic Strip Live? No, not Comic Strip Live. You're talking about the one that they did for the homeless, right?
Yeah. What was that called? Do you remember? I know it had like Robin Williams was part of it.
Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Whoopi Goldberg with their host. Yes.
Yeah. That's you were talking about that. I'm pretty sure was an HBO thing too, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it was. They did that for a couple of years. I watched all that shit. So I'm a big stand-up comedy fan. When I was in my early 20s and I was living out in Los Angeles, I discovered Eddie Izzard for the first time, fell in love with him, still do. When I started listening to the Opie and Anthony show, I became a Jim Norton fan. So all of that to say, when Jim Jefferies' gun control bit from Bear started getting shared everywhere, and like the talk of the town with it was a really good. It's a funny bit. It's acknowledged as a comedy bit. He does so even within the bit itself on the comedy special. But he also but people like it got passed around in colleges because he actually made like valid points. His biggest point. I don't know if you did the homework and you listened to his gun control thing, but I think his most valid point in the entire like his whole anti-gun rhetoric was, for those of you who are keeping guns for protection, either in home or against the government, neither situation lends itself to actually needing a gun. In the one instance, and he does it really funny, but he talks about if you're a responsible gun owner, it's in the fucking safe. You're never going to get there in time. You know?
You
And
wait
he
right
also-
here.
Yeah.
24, 36.
We wouldn't be
Oh,
getting
you're going to
murdered
get it,
right
you
now.
bastard.
We wouldn't be getting murdered right now if you told me what the lock. You know, I wasn't wearing my holster. I was naked at the time. Can relate. But then the other thing was, and I actually got into a whole like TikTok exchange with somebody about this because I did a whole piece on the empty rhetoric behind the necessity of keeping arms in the home in case the government becomes tyrannical. And I went, that made sense when there was comparable technology to what the government had.
Right.
We don't you can't own a drone with a missile on it. Sorry. And I'm just going to say this and then I'll stop because I don't want to turn this into a whole other thing. But I got myself in trouble with it because the guy like stitched my video and he was like, no, you don't understand. Most if the government turns tyrannical, most people will abandon the military and they'll have arms and they'll form an armed resistance and they can take on them. And there won't be anyone left. There'll be hardly anyone left in the military to fight back. Therefore, we win. And I went, you don't need people to fight the government. The government has such superior unmanned technology now. I mean, we're living on the cusp of actual like militarized Skynet. If the only thing holding the government back is its own humanity, and if it gives that up, you're fucked. If it no longer, if the U.S. government ever gets to a place where it no longer gives a fuck if you live or die, what's stopping it from wiping out blocks of people?
Right.
You know, so that was Jim Jefferies' kind of point, you know, with his gun control thing was there's only one legitimate argument for gun ownership, and that was I like guns. You know, because even the hunting one doesn't really hold the water either. You can hunt with a bow and arrow and be just as effective. Anyway, I love that gun control bit. I think it's great. I think the way he does it is great. I became a huge fan of Jim Jefferies. I went back and watched all of his stuff. In Jim Jefferies' comedy, I think the same one as Bear, he talked about legit. He talked about wanting to cast a. Let me go back. He talked about having a friend who had a brother who had muscular dystrophy, and he lived in a home, and they wanted to take him out and get him a prostitute. So they did, and that kind of becomes the premise/pilot of legit. So they wanted to cast an actor who had muscular dystrophy, and as it turns out, you get tired really fast when you have muscular dystrophy. You can't do 16-hour shoot days,
right?
Which is sometimes what television calls for.
Yeah.
So they ended up casting DJ Qualls. And DJ Qualls plays the brother with muscular dystrophy, and the first episode of Legit is the bit with taking him to a prostitute. Having said all that, that's why I wanted to talk about Legit. Big fan of Jim Jefferies, love his style of comedy, heard that story, saw that story got spun into this television show that lasted 2 seasons, was like, hey, I have a friend who I can talk about television with who doesn't fight me on anything. This would be great. So now that I've done a 20-minute opening on life, the universe, and everything Jim Jefferies, have you heard of this guy? What did you think of the gun control thing? Have you seen any of his other stand-up besides the gun control bit?
No, so you shared the gun control bit with me. I want to say it had to have been a couple years back. I don't know what brought it on, but you were like, you've got to watch this. And I remember watching that initially. But up until then, I didn't know who the guy was. I pay attention a little bit to stand-up comedy, but not a whole lot. I've got some of my favorites, but yeah, he was never really on my radar. So yeah, as far as, the whole bit itself, it's done brilliantly because there are a lot of salient points that he makes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of humor.
Are you pro-gun or anti-gun ownership?
Well, we have one. So I guess I have. I do have a gun in my home.
I'm assuming it's in a locked closet of some sort.
It is yes, it is in a safe, and
Okay.
it is. And it was not something that I bought. It was something we inherited.
Okay.
So So yeah,
I'm not
me
going to jump
having-
on you one way or the other. I swear. I'm just
Well,
curious.
the other thing is, I don't think I have any ammunition or anything like that for it, as far as I know.
So you could scare somebody,
so it's
but
just
there's no fucking follow through.
I'll just wave it around and scare them away.
I'm crazy.
I got it. I'm gonna shoot you. But
As it
so,
turns out, it's like an antique fucking gun. He like pulls it out. What do you have? It's a musket, for Christ's sake. What do you?
Never seen that.
what are
I
you
don't
pointing at
understand.
me?
Oh, my gosh. But yeah, so I guess I am kind of pro, but as far as like, I understand Jim Jefferies' stance on it, and a lot of the reason why I think that hits so hard is because it just it's real life, and it's funny how just the stance that Americans have, and he points this out in that whole bit about how, like, don't you come and take my fucking guns. You can't come and take my guns.
We had a school shooting, and the Australian government says, "All right, no more guns." We go, "All right, that seems reasonable." America has a school shooting a day, and like, don't you like? What if we just got rid of the big guns?
Yeah, the big ones.
Like,
let's
"Don't take my fucking
handle this
guns."
delicately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are beyond insane when it comes to guns.
Right.
Like, I'm willing to have a discussion about gun control and where the line should be, whatever else. But the general attitude, we are nuts when it comes to guns. It's insanity.
The American culture surrounding gun ownership is it's warped. And yes, I believe in the technological argument that you're making as well about how we have gone well past muskets, and there's no need for somebody to own a large automatic rifle because it's just something that's unnecessary.
Ronnie and I have had that discussion. He basically was like, we went back and forth. I made a lot of the same points to him, and at the end of the day, his response back to me was, "I like guns," and I went, "Okay, then there's nothing left to talk about." Yeah.
I mean, that's okay, fine. So I think that getting into this series, you threw this series at me. I had no idea this thing existed. Did not know he had a show, and so that's kind of where I landed. I didn't know much about the guy, but other than what you shared with me, so I'd never sought him out and listened to anything else. So jumping into this show, I was kind of curious as to, okay, well, what are we going to get here? Are we going to get the comedian Jim Jefferies over the top? And all I knew was the gun control bit. Like, are we just going to continually get that type of vibe throughout this thing?
One of your favorite shows is Seinfeld, isn't it? Which is obviously, it was developed by comedian extraordinaire Jerry Seinfeld, and it was famously a show about just following the daily lives of these characters. Like, in a lot of ways, Seinfeld became like the prototype for the just follow characters around.
Yeah,
like, what
really
thing do they do today?
I got a Seinfeld vibe on a few episodes here, which is, you're just watching this guy. The thing is that this has the opportunity to be a bit more vulgar and also a bit more real, I think. So
yeah, it's not redemptive in the sense of like they do go on a journey. They're all changed by the end of it, but they are changed through like hardship and by necessity more so than I've learned to be a better person. I don't want to go to the end and work backwards, but I think like when you see where Jim, I can't remember the other characters' names.
Steve,
Dan Beckendahl is Steve Nugent, and then DJ Qualls is Billy. So yeah, when you see where Jim, Steve, and Billy end up by the end of season 2, it's like they're not in a better place. They're just in a different place.
Yeah, they've experienced more, and your hope is that they're going to learn from their experiences. That's one thing that this show is it's honest. It's not going to leave you going, oh, it's a happy ending for everybody. That's not what happens here.
No, in a lot of ways, like especially Billy, who is played by DJ Qualls, with the MS and everything, like what happens to him and at the end of season 1 and 2 is actually really tragic. It's really sad. Like you can kind of like we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'll say this and then let's go back to the beginning. Jim ends up exactly where he needs to be. He ends up there by hurting a lot of people, I think. And I think his, I think it's funny. It kind of has that Wire-esque ending of the worst of them gets the best ending.
Mm.
I'm thinking of like the 4 kids from season 4 where Damon ends up being like adopted by
the lieutenant, or not the lieutenant, the captain or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
Bunny. I was like Bumpy,
Bunny.
Lumpy. Like, the fuck's his name? Bubbles. No, by Bunny. And the best amongst the two, the one that should have gotten all the sympathy and all the help ends up a fucking heroin user in a horse bar.
Yeah.
Like Billy should have had a great ending, and he ends up right back where he started. Steve, I think is right where he needs to be. And when it's all over, and then,
I think he's on the cusp of hopefully turning a new leaf, possibly.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. That's what I mean.
We don't get to see that. We get to see a lot of hope that that's going to happen, but he just can't stop himself sometimes, which is, again, I think mirrors real life, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then Jim goes on and does stand up, because goes on a world tour. So first episode, like I said, comes right out. He's told, I think, he's told other stories. Like Jim Jefferies is kind of a storyteller comic. I don't know what his bits were like when he was something I was thinking about before we started tonight, because people have said, and you've experienced this, like, I'm conversationally funny. I will, I say things that make people laugh. I'm, I can, I do like a funny voice or exaggerate things and makes people laugh, or I just get loud and like angry and like kind of like a Sam Kinison, and it like produces uncomfortable laughter, like, please don't hurt me, that kind of thing. What I'm not, so people have always said, like, why didn't you go into stand-up comedy? Because when you start stand-up comedy, you have 3 minutes. If you can get on stage at all, like on an open mic night or something, which is where people start, unless you're like Bernie Mac or some shit, and you're just doing stand-up at a fucking Subway. Like I think it was Bernie who just rode the rails, or
Yeah.
like Dave Chappelle dropped out of school and just started hanging around comedy clubs and like inserting himself in there, like the guys that are, like Dave Chappelle's a gazillionaire now. I think he just talked about in his latest special. And I love Dave Chappelle. I think he's great. Like, he's like bought his entire town.
Is he still living in Ohio?
Yeah, he's still living in Ohio, and he's bought the entire town, from what he says.
Neat piece of trivia. A buddy of mine that I went to college with ends up becoming pretty good friends with Dave Chappelle, believe it or not. I believe it,
considering the way Dave Chappelle talks.
He's apparently a good guy, so yeah.
So anyway, like a lot of these guys, if you go up the traditional way, you do open mic nights, you start getting asked, you start getting booked in comedy clubs, and you still only have like maybe 5-10 minutes at best. And I am a storyteller as well, and in telling stories, I usually have a rhythm where there's punchlines knitted into my stories to get laughs. Usually extemporaneous stuff in my head. I don't plan this shit ahead of time. But what I was not good at, as I learned when I was out in Hollywood, I was not good at writing a routine that I could condense to 3 minutes. Now, had I had ChatGPT at the time, I would buy my entire.
Cut all this stuff out and get it down to 3 minutes. Okay,
yeah,
sure.
I have this. It really says I need punchlines and I need it condensed to 3 minutes so I can recite it on stage. Yeah, I was not that kind of comedian. So, like the talk radio format, podcast format, was where I was better suited. Because I don't know if you've noticed in the 30 minutes we've been talking, I can be long-winded.
It happens.
Yeah. So anyway, the stories that Jim Jefferies tells throughout his specials that he's done often include stories about Billy and Steve. And the specific one where they talk about breaking him out of his home that he's in, his like assisted living facility or whatever it was, nursing home, and taking him to see a prostitute is the pilot of this episode. They literally so they introduce Billy's mom, and Billy's mom is like way overprotective, and she's got some mental illness going on, and she infantilizes him. And it's kind of one of those, just because I'm crippled doesn't mean I'm dead. I have needs too. And she's like, right, but you'll die. He was like, sitting in this chair and not being able to engage with the world is death. I don't see what the fucking difference is. And
Right.
like I said, she's a really controlling woman. And so a lot of the friction early on is that she projects a lot of her anger about what's happened to her son. Like, one son, Steve, who's Jim Jefferies' friend, is kind of a loser. He's going through a divorce. He's between jobs. He's kind of a shiftless layabout. And he's a drunk on top of everything. And it's like, it's all Jim's fault. And then to a lesser degree, because this would be totally insane if she were really like this, but she kind of like projects a lot of anger at Jim about Billy's situation. You know,
Yeah,
because I think Jim came to live with them as a foreign exchange student. Is like the
right,
backstory.
right. There's a history there, and she obviously blames him for a lot of, I guess, some of the stuff that Steve has fallen into as far as like his lifestyle.
Right. So rather than taking responsibility and ownership of their own behaviors or their own shortcomings, it's all the foreigner's fault. Because Jim is from Australia.
Right.
So Jim, DJ says, like, I don't know how much longer I have left, especially the way things are going with me in this chair, and I have muscular dystrophy. I can barely control my hands, if at all. I can't do anything for myself. I'm stuck in this chair. They do a bit where he like turns his head to the side, and that means
he's leaving the room.
He's left the room.
that cracked me up. We used that a couple times at the house here after we learned about that.
I left the room. Yeah. That said, they do break him out. They do take him to a prostitute. The joke is he's got like a giant fucking horse cock.
Yes, he does.
And so he gets laid, and he doesn't kill him, which he could have. That's the other thing.
There's a very real fear there in that episode that he may die, but no way to go.
This may kill him. That's how I want to go out. I want to go out fucking. So they get him back, and then they get him back to the home, and this is where I think they make the decision that living in the home is not good for him. Giving his mother this much control over him is not good for him. Let's have him come live with Jim and Steve. And so they get him out, they get him a nurse, and then that's the show pretty much from that point on. The first season leans heavily on Billy, where it's, what do we do with a guy with muscular dystrophy that he shouldn't be doing? And that's where a lot of the humor lies. It's a lot of like, a guy with muscular dystrophy shouldn't be doing this, but we're doing it anyway. Ha ha! He might die.
Yep.
know, the fact that like Jim is trying to balance, his being a comedian and an actor and wanting the best, like the early episodes, they were trying to get him into online dating.
Yep.
And he ends up like texting with this girl who's got no legs because whatever the reasons are. So there's a lot of that in the beginning. So what did you think of like the first third of season 1?
I mean, so I was kind of worried at first. I think season 1 it starts off kind of rocky as far as what my expectations were going to be. Because I was kind of worried we were going to be like, just like you were mentioning, situational comedy, but we were going to base it off of like, oh, this guy's got a disability. I was like, oh man, well, we might be pushing some buttons with some people in that case, because sometimes that stuff just isn't funny.
You're worried about like a 10-plus-year-old show offending someone?
Well, you know what I'm saying. I mean, it may vary. That's when I first went into this, I was like, how much of this well are we going to go to? Because it's going to get old for me really quick.
Right. Every week. What zaniness did we get into with Billy, the kid with MS?
Right. It's going to bother me if we continue to do this. But so that first third is kind of where I was worried. Now, I was also getting my bearings with our main character, Jim Jefferies here, who plays sort of himself, a more exaggerated version, I assume,
it's
of what's going on.
version of himself.
Right. So again, you're watching him just make all these very not so good decisions. And you wonder if there's going to be any repercussions, if he's going to learn anything. So yeah, in this first third, I'm getting used to that. Steve is there, but it's almost like he's just kind of along for the ride, you know?
He is burdened. Like, he feels that his brother gets all the love from their mom, you know, and that there's nothing left for him, you know, and it's like, I don't want my brother to be in a chair and crippled. On the other hand, why doesn't anyone love me?
Right. Our first third of our episodes here, we got the pilot you talked about.
Mhm.
We got an episode called Dreams for episode 2, which is where they break him out of the home. But we get the introduction to one of my favorite characters in that episode, and that's Rodney. Rodney's always fun, you know, the guy that Billy hates, but you know, Rodney shows up and he's always a ball of fun, which apparently, and you may have read this, but Jim Jefferies at one point was thinking about doing a spinoff with Rodney as the main character at some point, but that never saw production. Episode 3 was Love, which is the online dating one, which again, is that the one where it ends up where he has to, Jim Jefferies has to jerk him off at the end of things? Okay.
Yep.
Again, I'm just like, oh man, all right. And then episode 4 titled Anger, which this is where he gets on the plane. And we have the issues with the guy he was sitting beside, and just exploring Jim and the again the bad decisions he makes, the social issues that he has. So you know, I didn't know. I know that at the end of this first third, and we can move on, I didn't know if I was going to like this show. It was funny in certain moments. But by the end of the first third, I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to like this thing. Now, as we go further, it turns out that I end up liking this show.
Did you watch it with Mindy?
Yes, we watched. She watched about 75 to 80% of the first season with me and all of season 2.
Okay, was there a what the fuck mark, or why does he make you watch this, or you're not allowed to be friends with him on this one?
This is so we haven't mentioned Louis C.K. yet. And
I've seen the Louis C.K. show, by the way. Well,
okay.
I've seen the one that was on HBO. I don't remember if I saw, because there's 2. Hang on, let me double check that.
Well, there was an FX series called Louis.
That's not the one I watched. I watched the one that was on HBO.
Okay. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is me and the wife watched Louis, and this is kind of in the vein of that.
Yeah.
And we're both Seinfeld fans too. So, you know, this whole kind of following somebody through the comedian through their life, you know, we're used to that. So she wasn't like put out, but she was definitely probably on the same level as I was, like, oh geez, you know, all right, is this going to get any better? Are we going to have any growth of these characters? Because it certainly doesn't feel like it right now. So yeah, she wasn't like raising her eyebrows. And as the series went on, we both were laughing.
Lucky Louie is the one that I watched. That was the one that was on HBO, and then you watched Louie, which ran for a couple of seasons on FX.
When did it start on FX?
Louie started in June 29th of 2010. Lucky Louie started in 2006 on HBO.
Okay. All right. So anyway, so we were kind of okay with this kind of storytelling where it was, although I think there's definitely some clear separations between legit and Louis. But I would say that us watching that kind of helped us feel like we can stomach this. We're not going to be immediately turning the TV off or anything like that. It felt like it was trying to shock you at sometimes. Because, oh my gosh, Jim Jefferies is doing this. What? Oh my goodness. I can't believe
there's a big difference between the humor in the first season and the humor in the second season. The humor in the first season leans a little too much into like the physical / shock comedy. Like, oh my God, what gross thing did they get themselves into this week? The second season, the humor is in the trauma.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Let's talk about the season 1 finale. So the hooker that he fucks in the first episode allegedly is pregnant with his kid. And she shows up, and there's a whole thing about that. And then he's going to marry her and raise this kid. And there was like, how the fuck are you going to do that? And for him, it's like, it's validation that he's still a human being. He's still a real person. You know, like, look at me, despite the fact that I have no control over my body and I'm in this chair and I'm utterly dependent on other people to pee, to have sex, to, you know, to change, to clean myself, to put clothing on, etc. You know, he has, again, they have to do that. They have to do all of that for him. I'm still going to live a full life. I'm going to be a dad. And then just as quickly gets taken away from him, which the details of which of what again? Do you remember?
So essentially,
it's like the kid's not his. I remember that much.
Yeah, the kid's black. And they they come running out of Jim Jefferies and the rest of them come running out of the ER going, he's black, and Marlon Wayans, who's the doctor, I believe, is sitting there going, you know, he couldn't believe what was going on when they first showed up. But anyway, so yeah, essentially when the baby comes out, it's not his. I mean, you bringing this up now. We're at the finale. This show has had a chance and had its time to kind of grow on me. And there are starting to be moments in this show that are very heartfelt, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Or maybe really, you know, there's a lot of drama to it. DJ Qualls, you know, sitting in the wheelchair as Billy, and you're like, oh, this guy's going to be a dad. You know, and he got a hooker pregnant. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. But then you start to realize like how much he is really wanting to be a dad.
Yeah.
And I think there's a moment, I remember watching that last episode. There's a moment where his mom comes over and gives him the ring and says, here, you need to pretty much make an honest woman out of the hooker who has stopped hooking, by the way. And it's so funny because he gets this look on his face. Like he realizes that, yeah, he was wanting to be a dad, but he also has to marry this girl now.
Right.
And that brought on a whole new set of things that went right through his head. And you could tell he's kind of like having issues with maybe I should, or did I really want to actually have a wife? Yeah, I want to be a dad, but do I want to have a wife? Because that's going to be something else. And then he finally is like, yo, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get married. And he goes out there and he gets ready to propose to her. And that's when all hell breaks loose. Yeah. And he doesn't get the chance to do it. Her water breaks and they go to, and so that doesn't happen. But by the end of that episode, you could tell like, you know, Billy's heartbroken while the rest of them are celebrating out in the ER that
it's
not his
dehumanizing. For him, it was a validation moment. And then suddenly it's like, yeah, you don't get to be a father. Yeah, you don't, you know, you get to still be a useless cripple in a chair.
That is so sad.
Right. Like, think about how that makes him feel. It's like everyone's glad that I get to be this, you know, Siamese fighting fish in a small bowl. You know, that's all I'll ever be. There is another thing about season 1 I wanted to bring up really quick, and that is John Ratzenberg, who played Cliff on Cheers, is the mailman, and he here plays the obtuse father. Always playing an obtuse character, John Ratzenberg. Here it's like the mom is a hoarder. She's got a house full of like boxes and squishies and like what is the thing? Beanie Babies.
Yeah,
and
Beanie Babies,
there's no room in the house for anything. So John Ratzenberg's out in a fucking tent in the backyard. He's just like, you know, kind of happier here. It's fine. And like, there's no way for a man to live. So again, Jim, being a decent fella, you know, and sometimes despite the fact that she projects so much anger onto him, Jim is kind of, you know, always the one that's trying to bring everybody back from the brink. And so he helps clean out the house despite everything. And the second season is more with John Ratzenberg that they get into. But I liked that episode. I thought it was a good episode. And I liked how the mom she's still kind of shrill and shitty, but she's redeemable. It's clear from that episode there's more to her than just she's trying to control her crippled son. She is struggling with her own stuff. You know, and you can kind of see why Steve ended up the way that he did.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Walter who John Ratzenberger plays. And Yeah, Walter doesn't get a whole lot of screen time in this first season. He's definitely coming back for the second season in full force, in my opinion, and he's a great character. So yeah, it's interesting to watch. You know, that whole family has a lot of issues, and they, you know, that gets more explored in the second season. But you can kind of see what's happening here with that episode, where she's got a lot of issues to work through herself, and Walter's out living in a tent. And it doesn't really get any better as we go into season 2 for this couple either.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jim is, you know, again, the whole premise of, I think, legit is Jim wants to be a better person. Like, and I think that's where
the name comes from. He says it at one point. He's like, I want to be legit. I want to be good.
Yeah, right. And that's basically, you don't really get the sense of that too much in the first part of the first season, but as we progress, you do see where he is making strides just to try to better other people's lives. If we're talking favorite episodes here, I'm definitely bringing up my favorite episode, and that is going to be, oh my goodness, this is the one, Cuckoo's Nest, which is episode 10, and Jim decides to go and volunteer at a oh my goodness, at the home that I think Billy was living at one point, where Rodney resides, because obviously there is a hot therapist.
Oh, is that the one? Is that the one where he does fucking stand up and one person dies during his stand
No,
up?
that's season 2.
And I was gonna say, and they're like, Jim killed him or something like that.
This is the one where they have like the games. And this is one aspect of this show that I did not see coming at all.
Right. That's right. Where and like DJ Qualls is like fucking like leading a gang.
Right. Yes.
I remember this now. Yeah. He gets very possessive of the therapist.
Rodney ends up leaving. He leaves the premises. They got to try and find him.
Yeah.
But this is the reason I'm bringing this up, is because this was an aspect of the show that I wasn't expecting. I was not expecting this to be so like pro disabled. I don't know what's the word for it, but I mean, it's
fine. If you really want to be like funny about it, you can say handy capable.
Sure. And this show got a lot of praise for that, about how it handled people with disabilities and didn't treat it like it was.
Yeah, whether you love or hate Jim Jefferies, he's very respectful to that community. He's like, Jim Jefferies talks a lot about his drug and alcohol use, and you can find, again, a liberal fucking Australian may not be your cup of tea, but the guy's not a douchebag.
Right. Rodney could have been a one-off character, showed up for one episode and that was it. But no, he continues to come back.
Right.
So they use him a lot. But yeah, when they go over to the home, and there's two teams that are again, they do not want Jim messing with this therapist at all. But I thought it was great. It was an episode that was handled well, in my opinion, and again, caught me unaware as to how well they handled these issues and using disabled actors, handicapable actors, if you want. So, but yeah, I mean, there's my thoughts on season 1. I feel that it was kind of uneven. Is probably my best way of kind of putting it.
I think the original pitch was zany adventures, and then as it got on, they were like, what if we talked about some very serious things? I did want to mention, again, having been a big fan of Jim Jefferies and his stand-up, I recognize some of the stories that he told. And so this one's part of the gun control thing, so it extra stood out to me. But they did an entire episode about him getting a home invasion. That home invasion is what he talked about in the gun control bit, where he was like, oh, I need it for home protection. He was like, okay, I had people break into my house. Like, well, why didn't you, if you'd had a gun, you'd have been fine. He was like, I wasn't. I was naked at the time. I wasn't wearing my holster. And and so in the episode, two guys are like breaking into the home. Like, he doesn't have a gun. Like, he's vulnerable at the time. His girlfriend's there. and they're just dealing with these two guys in the home invasion, and I think they get them later.
And the one that has like the biggest nuts is Billy. Billy's like, come over here, I'll kick your ass. He can't do a thing, but he wants to whip their ass.
Billy had a fucking death wish. I have nothing to lose. I'm a handicapped person in a chair. I'm fucking crippled.
Yeah.
Like whatever. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Cripple me more? I'm just ahead at this point. I think it's really funny. Season 2 leans one. It becomes a little less about Jim. There's definitely a lot of Steve in season 2. You get to meet Gordo, which Jim Jefferies has talked about. He's talked about his really, really fat mom. I haven't watched enough of his stand-up to know if he's ever gotten into her personality disordered stuff, just that she's fat. And he's never talked about his dad. So the dad being just kind of over the mom, the mom really liking the American healthcare system, so she comes to Australia and then immediately goes in the hospital where she'll be cared for and fawned over, which is what she likes.
Deep vein thrombosis. That's her idea of a vacation.
Yeah. Who isn't like to be waited on hand and foot and have all that attention? She's got deep vein
thrombosis. She's got thrombosis.
I once played the thrombosis in the
No, I'm sure you did.
When I was in New Orleans, I watched a lot of black guys play the thrombosis. In their jazz bands. I can keep going if you want.
Season 2.
So there's that. So the mom's in the hospital for a couple episodes. The dad's living with Jim for a couple episodes. By that point, John Ratzenberg has left his wife. She's controlling. She's crazy. I'm fucking over it. I don't want to live in a tent anymore. So I'm just going to be here. And like the dad's palling around and like getting Asian hookers. That was all good stuff.
Good episode.
Yeah, that's all funny stuff. A lot of season 2 deals more with Steve and Steve being a drunk.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of episodes where he goes on fucking benders. There's the one where I think like him and Jim get into it. And Jim punches him.
Yeah, dude. It's. You talk about
the episode where he smokes crack.
He gets punched in the face. He takes off and he ends up going on a insane. It's called Weekend. I'm pretty sure that's the one because the next episode is Intervention. But Weekend finds him going out, getting drunk, and by the end of it, he's smoked crack. He's carrying his gun with him, and he wakes up on the beach after passing out in his underwear on a lawn chair.
Right.
And
with a vague implication he may have been ass raped.
Yeah. And all this gets started because his ex-wife is getting married. At one point was taking the kid to Cincinnati, but what really sent him over the edge was when she said, "Hey, we are getting married and I'm pregnant." Right. And then he was like, "Okay,
Let me tell you, like I was just talking to Jonas about this. I watched Jake Kelly this morning. Jake Kelly is a story about an actor who dedicates his life to acting, and he's a tremendous movie star. He's loved. There's a point in the movie where he gets an award for his career. He does this to the exclusion of all else. So he gets divorced once or twice. He has a daughter that he's estranged with, who by the end of it wants nothing to do with him. And then there's another daughter who he's less estranged with, but also is like, stop following me around. I don't really need to be around you. I'm independent of you. And he's like, by the end of the movie, he's like, I want to do over. Like the line is, can we go again? Because it was a Chekhov's gun from the beginning of the movie where he's delivering a monologue in a movie that he's filming. And then at the end of the monologue, he's like, can I go again? I can do it better. And the director's like, can you not be a psycho about this and just trust me? It was good the first 7 times you did it. And so at the end of the movie, can we go again? In other words, can I do my life over? I'm alone. I have been abandoned.
It's hard.
And I said, I'm over kind of like the fear of my kids walking away from me. I'm a good dad. I spend a lot of time with my kids. When they're here, I barely leave my son's side. Like if he decides he's done for the night, he goes away first. Unless Erica demands some time from me, I generally will spend every waking moment with my kids. Like they're not missing out on dad time. I'm taking them to New Orleans. They found that out for Christmas. I'm taking them to New Orleans for spring break. For my son's birthday, I'm taking him to Alabama to go see Guar.
Oh,
Because every good 12-year-old should see Guar before they turn 18.
Yeah, in Alabama, nonetheless.
Yeah, my daughter, because Florida hates the gays, under the age of 18, she's not allowed to go see a drag show. So I can't do that, even though I bought tickets for it because it said it was 21 and under. It was 18 and under. And then they were like, on second thought, we're being threatened by the DeSantis government. So no, it's not. We are checking IDs at the door. So instead, this is the weirdest thing. Can I just real quick side story?
Please.
So again, my daughter's been wanting to see a drag show since she was like 13 years old. Okay. And I tried to take her to see Hedwig and the Angry Inch. That show got canceled. I have been looking for underage drag shows for a while to take her to because we're Florida, and Florida, like, even though it's unconstitutional, they can make unconstitutional, unconstitutional. They can make your life difficult.
Yeah.
So a lot of places, like, it's not really worth doing a family-friendly drag show at this point. We don't need the hassle. Then I see this thing for the Glitter of Oz, which is being put on by Hamburger Mary at the Abbey in Orlando. And it says all ages. I'm like, hot diggity, I'll take her to that for her birthday. I can finally do this for her. And then after I buy the tickets, I get a thing from Facebook. Yeah, we changed our minds. We don't want the hassle.
Oh, jeez, crumbing.
So I'm trying to find something else. So I'm trying to find something else for her to do. And then I find this, like, country drag band called Flamey Grant.
That's funny.
Yeah, No, if you know who Amy Grant is, Amy Grant was a Christian pop artist.
One of my wife's top 5.
Yeah, so Flamey Grant appears to be like a Christian country drag band of some sort.
So it does have Christian ties.
Dude,
interesting.
The show that they're doing in Orlando is at a fucking church.
Wow.
No shit. Yeah,
That's interesting.
Okay, so Flamey Grant, call her drag. Call her a drag queen.
I'll call her Dwag.
I'll drag you to hell. Call her a drag queen, call her a musician, call her an entertainer, but trust you will call her. Flamey Grant is a trailblazing artist from Asheville, North Carolina. She lives right next door to Ronnie.
Right by him.
Yeah. No matter the category, she sets stages ablaze with blistering vocals, bold looks, brilliant songwriting, and brave storytelling. Flamey made her drag history in 2023 when her debut album, Bible Belt Baby, reached #1 in the iTunes Christian music chart. And this goes on.
I am really impressed.
Right?
Like
I don't understand why this show though is fucking.
So they're saying it's got to be.
This is an all ages show. I double and triple checked
for now.
Yeah. It still says all ages, Jesse. It still says it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's at the Broadway United Methodist Church.
That is interesting.
Grand. Anyway, so my point with bringing all that up is I'm a good dad. I'm not really worried that, like, I'm gonna end up like Jay Kelly, and like my kids are gonna fucking not want to have anything to do with me as they get older. It did make me reflect on, like, unlike Jay Kelly sacrificed everything. He made a deal with the devil. He sacrificed everything so that he could be that he could be a famous actor. I didn't. I made a lot of professional sacrifices so that I could be the best dad and husband that I could be, only to not really be appreciated for the husband part. And that's as far as I'll go and say with that. And that made me cry. That upset me this morning watching Jay Kelly. Linking that to legit, Steve is struggling because, like, he is not the best father that he could be. He was not the best husband. That's why she left him. He wants
to be.
Like, he's trying, but he has so many personal failures that he's not able to be consistent with it. And then that was the point that I was trying to make with the Jay Kelly comparison. So then this woman's like, we're done. We've moved on. And, like, that's kind of where me and Melissa are. She's moved on. I've moved on. We're both trying to just live our lives and get through this co-parenting thing for the next 6 years. But we both independently said, our life together is over. We're moving on. Whoever we bring into our life next, that's the next chapter of our life, if we bring anyone in at all. Steve, by comparison, is very still stuck on his wife and is holding out hope that she'll come to her senses. They don't. That she'll come to her senses and they'll get back together again. And then she's like, not only have I gotten over you, but I am having this guy's child and moving away, and you're not really a part of my life anymore. You're tangentially a part of my life because you're my kid's father. That's it. That's all you are. And that, and he can't handle it.
No. And
so he has such poor coping skills about everything. He just, drinks and does crack and blacks out or whatever. But that's not the first time that happens. Like, there are other parts of season 2 where he is drunk and irresponsible. At one point, he's drunk with somebody. I can't remember who. And they lose the van.
Oh, it's him and oh my goodness. Who was he with? Because I know
is that
it's his dad. It's his dad. He goes with his dad to a bar.
That's right. They go to a bar and drink for a while, and they come out and the car had been towed, and then it's in the tow lot, and they come in and someone else ends up having to come and rescue Billy, and then when they come back to get the van, the chair is gone, and that's how they end up dealing with the Mexican family.
Yeah, this is episode 5, Checkmate, where they have to play a game of chess, and Billy whips that guy at chess, but they take him, they beat them up anyway.
Right.
Sin nombre. So what kind of a stupid name is that? No name? Your name is No Name?
And then so the mothers end up having to talk to each other, and it's like, and the mom is like, I don't know where I went wrong. And that in an admission that finally that it's not all Jim's fault, she says I don't know where I went wrong with Steve. I guess I paid so much attention to Billy that Steve felt neglected, and now Steve can't handle anything. So I've got one child who's a physical cripple and another child who's an emotional cripple.
Emotional, right?
Yeah,
right.
And I wanted to talk about that for a little bit, about how basically. Jim's thing is, early in this episode, something happened to Steve where he feels the need to get a gun, and while they're buying the gun, Jim develops the gun control bit. This is important.
You're watching him do it in the shop.
Yeah, so he kind of just writes the material in the shop extemporaneously.
The reason he wants to get a gun is because they would go to Afghanistan.
Oh, that's right.
Steve gets a hold of the gun while Jim's cowering in a fetal position. He's going nuts with a gun, but then he realized that, he gets fired upon. And then when he comes back, he's got this big appreciation for guns. So he's decided to go get himself one.
Yeah, that pays off at the end of the season when, after everything that's happened, he finally just enlists in the military. Which I don't think they would take him at his age, but that's neither here nor there.
We're missing that one big part where Jim asks for using the gun control bit at a show.
Oh,
a guy shows up.
Yeah,
go for it.
Go ahead. So he does the gun control bit on. So, the thing of it is that season 1 is more episodic. Season 2 is more interlaced.
Yeah, you got a lot more continuity.
Yeah, so there's the bit with the one that got away, who got married to the British guy, and she has kids
Katie
now.
Knox.
But they ended up sleeping together, and that's a whole thing throughout the season. There's that. Jim, I can't remember what fucked him up. I know he lost. Oh, that's right. He lost a part. And then because he couldn't.
You just made this rape really awkward.
Oh, that's
get the hell out of my car.
I couldn't. Yeah, he's flirting with a girl. And he makes a joke about she says something to him. He's like, well, you just made this rape really awkward. And she fucking and he becomes it's a scarlet letter for him. It's a total albatross around his neck. He can't fucking recover from it. He's a leper now.
Yeah, and then the film goes on and it becomes a big success without him being in it.
Yeah, so there's that. And so a lot of season 2 is him. His career is going down the toilet because he made the rape joke. And then when he's at his lowest is when he does the gun control bit. And the gun control bit aggravates a guy in the crowd, and this happens with comedians all the time. It's not even just comedians. Like, if you put yourself out there, someone disagrees with you enough, people, what's the term, doxing? They'll call you, dude. There are people who are like putting out TikToks, and people are finding out where they live and getting them fired from their job.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. I'll take my chances, but also the stuff I do is relatively harmless. Like, I'm not attacking people.
Right.
I'm talking about stuff. I'm talking about stuff that's pretty intense at times, but I don't think the little bit that anyone's come after me has stopped almost immediately, because I don't get into back and forth with people. But I'm also not the dumb broad who's doing a song and a dance going thoughts and prayers for Charlie Kirk. Like that, like, don't dance on people's graves. I don't know why this is so hard for people. So like when you're doing shit like that, yes, then people come after, then the mob comes after you. But that was happening. He did his stand-up act, and a guy in the crowd was like, "Don't fucking joke about taking guns away, foreigner," which he says in the bit, by the way. He was just like, "Some of you are fucking seething, and part of the reason why is because I'm a foreigner." And you're like, "If you don't like it, go home." And he's like, "No."
Yeah.
Like,
2% of you are sitting there going,
I love this line. Your First Amendment says, I can say the Second Amendment sucks dick.
Yep.
Yeah, freedom of speech sucks when someone says something you don't like. So the guy follows him out to the car, and you're led to believe that the guy shot him in the parking lot.
Right. That's
As
the
it
way the
turns
episode
out,
ends, I think, if I'm right.
Yes, it's an episode or two later, it comes out that Steve is the one that
Steve
shot him.
accidentally shot his ass.
But in between, Jim was going to stop doing comedy. And his gun control bit and then subsequent shooting makes him relevant again. And so he's offered a world tour based on the strength of his popularity from that incident. And initially he turns it down, and then he finds out that Steve's the one that fucking shot him. And there's this giant explosion between the three guys. Like, they're just fighting each other. Like, DJ Qualls like caught in the middle of it all. And that's when Steve decides he's going to enlist in the military. Jim has decided he's had enough of the brothers, and he's going to go on the world tour, and DJ Qualls ends up back in the home. That's what I meant at the beginning of this over an hour ago, when I was like, this is a really sad, tragic ending, and everyone kind of ends up either where they should be or in the worst possible place. Like I said, it has that wire in it. Like DJ Qualls did nothing wrong. Right. And didn't deserve what happened to him, but he got abandoned by not just his brother, but by Jim too. Jim in the beginning, was the one that rescued him, because it wasn't Steve's idea. Jim rescued him, and then Jim abandoned him because of Steve. And again, Steve's whole character is not taking responsibility for the terrible consequences of his actions. And in the end, Steve just fucks off and goes into the military because it's the one place he felt like he belonged. And what else did he have to lose? Like, what's going to happen to him? He gets shot. It'd be better than the life he's living. Yeah. And then, and DJ Qualls is like, what the fuck did I do to deserve this? That's the show. Yeah. That's how it ends. And all of season 2 was like that. It's a lot of like gut-wrenching stuff. Like, it's still funny in places. I will tell you this. I laughed a little bit in season 1. I did not laugh at all in season 2. I was entertained, but I didn't laugh.
Oh. I cannot believe that you didn't laugh during Rub and Slide.
Oh, well, that's funny. I mean, like no belly laughs. Like I should say.
You didn't laugh when Carrie Fisher put her leg up on the desk
and said, "Lick my pussy." Okay. All right, Jesse, you got me. Carrie Fisher demanding Jim Jefferies lick her pussy is quite amusing.
This is 1 year before Star Wars, right? So she's coming back to reprise Princess Leia. We get this 1 year before.
I know you're not like the world's biggest like Carrie Fisher enthusiast. I mean, you like her just fine, but you like her as Princess Leia, right? Like, you're not really into all her other shit.
She's in The Burbs, and that's a great movie.
Okay.
But she's not like yeah. Go ahead.
So like when Princess Leia fucking shows up in legit and it's like, lick my pussy and maybe you'll get a gig. Or you're like, oh,
I'm looking at.
Princess.
I looked over at my wife. I'm like, that's Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
And she's like, who? And I'm like, Princess Leia.
It's really
like,
funny that she was
oh.
playing basically her character from fucking Family Guy.
So yeah.
So your thoughts
But yeah.
on season 2? I've been talking for a while.
No, I mean, yeah, we get a lot more. I want to talk about what you were just real quick before I forget about this finale.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, there was no notification that this was going to be canceled until they aired that final episode, and that's when they came out and said, yeah, we're canceling the show.
Right.
So I'm certain that we were going to go somewhere with this. That was one of the questions I had initially. It was like, when they did the finale, did they know that this was happening? Did they plan on this happening? And I think I read a tweet where Jim said, no, this is not the ending I had envisioned, but this is the one we're going to have to get.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It really does.
Depending on your reading of it, it's either a great way to end the series or a great mid-season finale.
Right. I understand. And again, I think as we get into season 2, one of the things that I really enjoy the most here in this season is how real it feels now.
Mm-hmm.
As we progress through season 2, there's more drama that's happening that feels like it could actually happen in real life. And the way that season 2 ended is exactly that, I think.
Yep.
Jim goes on world tour. This is unfortunately how Billy's life is going to be if Steve's not going to be there for him, and he has no other place to go. It's very sad, and unfortunately, that's the way life is sometimes.
It's funny because like the mom is very much like, everything is Jim's fault, but Jim. What you realize is that Jim is the one holding it all together. Jim is the glue that held Steve together. Jim is the glue that was, keeping Billy out of the home. And without Jim, it all crumbles.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And Jim is at a point where by the time we get to the end of season 2, where he has the big falling out with Steve that made him take the world tour. From Jim's perspective, and I really respected the show for doing it this way. From Jim's perspective, he did do everything he could. He got no help from Steve. There was nothing Billy could do, and everybody involved made life infinitely harder. His father, Billy's mom. The only other person not making life harder for Jim was the nurse.
Well, Ramona.
Yeah, but everybody else was kind of like despite his best intentions and really trying to help this kid, everyone else just made it difficult, and he suffered for it. And he said, "Enough's enough." It's something I talk about in my profession. It's something I've talked about on here, and that is a relationship can't be one way. In a marriage, friendship, business partnership, brothers and sister, whatever the relationship dynamic is, it can't be all one person gives their energy to another and the other person just takes. And that's the relationship Jim was in with this family. He gave and he gave and he gave and got nothing back. And in the end, he was like, I have to create a boundary. And he does. And once he creates that boundary, Steve fucks off. Billy goes back to the hospital. And the show ends. That was kind of my read on it. Like, it's sad because I feel bad for Billy, but in the end, I'm like, I get why he did. I'm not mad at Jim for doing what he did.
Right. Yeah, I think the standout for me this season is the one we've kind of already talked about, which is Weekend, where Steve goes on the bender. Because there's some real.
It was an intervention where the mom's like, I have so much to say.
Oh, yeah. The next episode, the intervention, when
oh my God.
They have
them having a crack party with hookers during an intervention. I found wildly amusing.
Oh my gosh. It was hilarious. But yeah, there was in Weekend, there was a lot of these characters kind of coming to Steve and Jim, especially finally, like Jim is trying to make Steve realize, do you realize what you're doing here?
Yeah.
And Steve, goes out and gets drunk and then proceeds to have this crazy weekend. He ends up walking down the street in his underwear and gets a ride from who happens to be passing by, but his ex-wife,
Right.
her mom, and her dad.
Takes the kid, and God only knows if he's ever going to see her again.
Right. Oh my gosh, man. So that was a really, really good episode. Yeah, there was also Jim was suffering from panic attacks. That was another thing that kind of led to him, there in between those episodes. And he was trying to kind of work through that by taking, I think it was after he was shot, he was on Ambien.
Yeah.
And he texts Katie Knox, tells her a bunch of stuff like from his heart, and he remembers nothing of it. And she shows up the next day, and you're like, oh, these two are finally going to get together. And he's like, I've been on a lot of drugs. That's another sad part too, is because you're kind of hoping these two actually get together. And at the end, when he's on stage, I don't know if he's on stage or the news is covering, I think his tour or something like that. And she's sitting in the house with her husband and her kids, and just hears his name and turns the TV off because she doesn't want to hear anything about him.
The husband caught them making out in the stairwell at their party, and then he goes to Jim, and he was like, how fucking dare you come into my house? Like, I saw where he was coming from.
Oh yeah.
Because I haven't lived through this experience myself.
Uh-oh.
How dare you come into my fucking house and try to take something that I worked really, really hard to maintain? I get it. I empathize.
Yeah.
And Jim is like, you're right. And then beyond that, though, because I think he even says to her, he was like, what was the fucking plan here? I'm like gonna take you away from your husband and help you raise your kids? What are you, crazy? Like, I'm barely holding on as it is. Like, fucking the self-awareness on Jim in this show was pretty great.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It was like I get lustfulness. I get he didn't know she was married. She said she was into it. They slept together, and then it was like, oh, if only this had worked out. You're the one that got away. Like, I sympathize again. But
yeah, it turns out she was pregnant and ended up with his kid, and her parents sent her off to Utah to get an abortion.
Right.
I mean, that's some heavy stuff right there.
Right.
It really
is.
is.
That's the thing. Like, when they run into each other again, and then he was like, I want you, but you have a whole other life, and I don't want that life. And I think there's a part of him at one point when between being shot and the end of the show, I think there was a part of him that was willing to take that on, and then he realized, one, I don't want to be a homewrecker. And let me tell you how much I've heard that line in my life. Where people are like, I want you, I love you, I think you're fantastic, but I don't want to be a homewrecker. And I'm okay with that line of logic. I've never argued with it, because what kind of person wants to do that? And I think that was the point the husband was trying to make. He was like, this, it's one thing to bang my wife. It's one thing to try to destroy my home. What you're doing not just affects me, it affects my kids too. And I like that the show dealt with that, cheating out of your marriage. I mean, there's a whole conversation to be had around that. But the point really that I'm trying to stick with is, you don't just hurt the person that you're with. You hurt everybody associated with you too. Choices have consequences, I guess, is the moral of this story.
Right. And when we start in season 1, it's almost like there is barely any consequences that are felt for these guys. And then by the end of season 2, there's consequences for these guys. And they explore that.
Season 2 is infinitely better than season 1.
100%. Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be my final word, and then I'm going to let you talk about your, whatever else you got, any notes that you have, or, I know you do like the TV time and stuff like that. Or any Mindy reactions that you want to share. but I like talking about it with you. Clearly we've been at this for an hour and 20 minutes, and I could probably go another hour, but for the most part, I think I have a lot of respect for Jim Jefferies. I think this is a good show. I'm glad I watched it. You know, of all the stuff that like we've talked about, not David Simon related, you know, I like the fact that I will kind of come across something that I'm kind of, you know, tangentially like interested in. You know, this happy, something else, and it turning out really, really well. And I'd be like, because again, everybody talks about the same shows, Game of Thrones, you know, or they talk about, you know, the stuff that's popular, whether it's good or not, is immaterial. So they talk about the Marvel shows, they talk about the Star Wars shows, they talk about, you know, whatever the new hit thing is. I like kind of finding these kind of weirdo, obscure shows, you know, that I have some attachment to. Like there's a guy in it that I like. You know, in the case of this one, it's Jim Jefferies. In the case of Happy, it's Patton Oswalt, which we'll talk about next week.
That's not too far away.
In a few days, in 3 days. So I like the fact that you and I have such good rapport, and you know that we make time to do stuff like this, because it's very easy to kind of get your head around like everything's the same on television, just like it is in the movies. And then you're like, no, there's stuff out there. You just got to look for it, be patient, and give things a chance. Look, legit could have sucked. I don't know. I know Jim Jefferies it was Jim Jefferies' show and he was in it. Could have been terrible for all I knew. But
right.
You know, I think kind of taking a flyer on something, giving it a chance, seeing how well it goes, and then talking about it with your buddy. There are worse ways to spend my time.
I agree. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, the only other thing I had here, like, I'll just for season 2. I like I said, I feel like this was miles above what season 1 started out like. It is dark in some aspects. I think it definitely, again, has that real life bent to it. There are consequences to your actions, and what you see are some very flawed characters here, living life, and dealing with some of the stuff that they sometimes bring upon themselves because of the decisions that they make. So yeah, I mean, I had a blast here, dude. It was, again, I was worried at the beginning, but by the end of it, I was perfectly fine. And I am kind of sad that they didn't do a season 3, because I feel like there was, you know, you rooted for these characters. And I don't think that the ending that we got, in my opinion, this is for me, I know we already kind of talked about like what it could have meant to others, but for me, you know, I'm wanting at least these guys to have a bit of a happier ending. It definitely wasn't.
Oh, they got happy endings, all right.
Oh my God. Them in that parlor, and the one girl starts singing, and they all start singing, was hilarious. Like the only thing that separates them is curtains in that massage parlor. That was fun. And then they take them.
What's the matter? You don't like me? No, you're fine.
Which, by the way, that actress was in Super Center, which she plays a character in that, and she's always been funny in that, at least. So it's funny. Okay. This has to be one of her very early roles here. But yeah. I mean, this was a good time. I had a lot of laughs in this, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to watch it.
All right. Any funny Mindy reactions as you were watching this?
No, let me just ask you, what do you think the biggest shock moment of all 2 seasons for you? I mean, do you recall the series well enough to be like, okay, that was pretty darn shocking?
If you start to talk about it, it'll jog my memory.
Okay, well, here's
this
mine.
Is the unfortunate thing about like.
I don't know how long it was.
Season 1 I watched at the beginning of the month.
Okay, all right.
December happened.
Season 2. When did you watch season 2?
The night I had to have finished it after football Christmas Day, like the last game of Christmas Day.
Okay.
Whatever. I think it was the Chiefs and the Broncos.
Okay, all right.
What a hard game to watch that was.
Was Mahomes out that game, or
Mahomes has been out now for a couple of games?
Okay, all right. I was going to say, I didn't know if it was that game if he got hurt in that game, or if it was the game before.
It was the game before.
Well, as for the most shocking moment in both seasons of Legit, it comes at the end of episode 2. All right. So episode 2 was called Death. You'd mentioned this earlier, where Jim Jefferies accidentally kills one of Billy's friends at the care facility.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So in order to, he goes to Jim goes with Billy to the funeral and ends up running into the sister of the guy that he accidentally killed. I say accidentally killed. He told a bunch of jokes. This guy supposedly laughed during a show and died.
Right.
So therefore, it was him. But what ends up happening as he starts to court and these two become friends is he starts to realize, like, this girl she's almost perfect for me. And they're out on the boardwalk and they're looking out at the sea, and a black couple walk by.
Oh, that's right. She's in it for like an episode or two after that, and like the fucking racial shit she drops, that had me laughing.
Oh,
like, the
dude,
more you talk about stuff, the more I remember laughing at things.
She turns around. That's how they end the episode. Is Jim as she turns around and she goes, I feel like she said, she definitely dropped the N word, because I can't believe there's so many N words here, and Jim's just like, his face just drops, and that's how we end the episode.
It's just a little racist.
And you're just like, oh my gosh, me and the wife, that's where we just look. I was like, holy shit, did she just say that? She just said that. And then, episode 3 is titled Racist. So it's all about him trying to figure out, like, should I continue to date this girl? And he introduces her to his black friend comedian and breaks up with her in front of him. And then next thing you know, the black friend comedian is dating her. Well, excuse me, he's not dating her, he's screwing her.
Did you get KKK bitch vibes?
Oh, yes, I did.
Yep.
Man, that was a funny episode, and a funny situation for him to try and get out of, and just watching him try to dance on eggshells around his buddy. Good stuff. But anyway, that was the most shocking moment of both seasons. That's where I'll leave you. There you go.
All right, folks. Well, that is our review of Legit. Too legit
to quit.
Hey. Too legit.
Oh boy, we are old, ladies and gentlemen. But not the first time that Too Legit has been referenced this month. I'll tell you.
Back to the home, Grandpa.
Yeah.
All right.
Time.
So tomorrow, we had a change in the schedule. We were supposed to do Anaconda, but Robert used his one veto for the year. So instead, we moved up a show.
He held on to that thing until December.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was like the money in the bank.
He knew it was coming.
That's right. So instead, we're gonna do Jay Kelly, Train Dreams, and House of Dynamite, all of which I watched today. And then no shows Tuesday or Wednesday. However, New Year's Day, we're doing our Damn You Hollywood year in review, and look ahead 2026. That's always a very exciting part of the show. That's where I go on the Wikipedia page for film movies for the next year, and me and Robert and Alexis will discuss what movies we're actually going to review and finalize the schedule. And it's funny because, like, I put a lot of stuff on the schedule which I know has changed. Like, I still have Doomsday in its May slot. Like, I have to move that to December at some point.
Yeah.
Soulmate, which was originally scheduled for January, has been taken off the calendar indefinitely. They're looking for, like, I think an online distributor for that. I don't know why they don't send it straight to Peacock. If you're going to do that, like, you have a streaming service. What the fuck is wrong with you people? That's Universal, by the way. So, like, yeah, there's definitely been some changes. Around this time, they start listing for the first quarter or two what the streaming movies are. So, I know I want to do this a little bit less next year. I'm a little burnt out. So I definitely want to keep doing it. I definitely want to keep doing it at least twice a week because there's Damn You Hollywood, and then there's stuff I want to do with you. There's a lot of the triple features of just things I want to talk about. You know, things I'm pretty passionate about. I added a few actually yesterday or this morning. But I don't I don't want to get overwhelmed doing this like I've been. So, you know, if I kind of oscillate between I have to review every movie that comes out in a year and then realize I fucking can't. There's too many of them now. I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, don't overwhelm yourself.
No. There's stuff I don't see, there's stuff I don't see, and so what? Like I'm looking at it's funny, I'm looking at my best of my top 10 for the year and then my worst 5, and I'm like, honestly, like it's of all those triple features that I did, almost none of them ended up on that list.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I'm looking at my list, and yeah, maybe 2 of them. Everything else I saw in the theater.
No
Of
kidding.
the bottom 5, 2 of them were streaming movies. 3 of them were streaming movies. And it's like, okay, so doing all of those streaming movies helped me figure out what the worst movies of the year were. Like that was the big benefit to me. I could probably live without that.
Right.
Or do like I did with, but just not abuse Robert, where I can just watch him on my own and decide. I think that's the pattern I'm trying to break. If I don't have to talk about everything, I can just watch stuff on my own.
Yeah.
So, this past week, now that I've said all that, this past week, you and I did our annual Christmas trio triple feature. We did Oh What Fun, Jingle Bell Heist, and Merry Little Xmas. I listened back to that. You and I had a really good discussion. Did a review for Avatar: Fire and Ash. Did you do anything with Alexis last week?
We did. No, I don't think we have. I have scheduled tomorrow. I think me and Alexis for source material.
Okay,
it's happening.
All right. Well, then that's all I got. What do you got?
I was scrolling down through just to see what happened this year for Unspoken Issues, because Unspoken Issues is finally going to be welcoming back Dean Compton, who I think's last did an episode with us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was January, where we did JLA year 1. So it's January 13th of 2025. So Dean plans on coming back. Him and Mike, him and Derry are going to be going. We're going to be talking G.I. Joe. That's the plan at the beginning of the year. So yeah, just a heads up. Anybody who likes 90s comics, we're going to be talking G.I. Joe 108 to 115. Things get violent, get real violent. People are dying. I'm telling you what. Violence. But yeah, as for the Source Material Comics podcast, where we talk comic books of any era, myself and Mark Radulich last talked, I think it was earlier last week, the 22nd, Santa Claus Private Eye aired. So we had a fun discussion during that time. And tomorrow for Source Material, Stranger Things and TMNT crossing over in a very, I think, done well story. Me and Alexis got together. That's kind of our we had been talking Stranger Things all the way up until this final season, and we didn't really have anything for December, so we did a comic book instead, put it on Source Material. So that'll be airing tomorrow. And then, of course, myself and Evan Bevins get together and we talk Marvel Snap. That'll be we'll be talking the next season there that first week, I would imagine, that first full week of January. So keep an eye out for that. And that's all I got.
Yeah. Our next Source Material is January 4th, the day before my daughter's birthday. We'll be doing Cobra Commander. Can't remember what the subtitle is, but Cobra Commander, Darth Maul, and Shredder in Hell.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think, like I said, Cobra Commander, you're going to dig. Darth Maul, you're the Star Wars guy. Shredder in Hell, that's probably where exactly you'd like to put the book. It's just one of two places, either in the Shredder or back and send it to hell. One or the other.
Okay. Well, I'm excited.
I hate to color what you're going to actually, but I feel it. Like I could feel that future discussion happening right now. And it's going to be extremely one-sided.
Jesse doesn't drink, but he's going to on that show.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for joining us here on TV Party tonight. For Jesse, I have to pee, as per usual. Also, I need Brock Purdy to fucking throw another 20 yards. And can we get some more passes to Colston Loveland? Jesus Christ, he's got the line was 3.5, and he's caught one ball.
What's the score?
Oh, 35-28. This is a fucking shootout.
Ooh.
Yeah, Frisco and the Bears are like back and forth.
Oh man.
All right.
That could be. That could be some. Yeah.
For Jesse, I gamble too much. Be well, be safe, and behave.